Welcome back to the Investor Mindset Podcast. My name's Stephen Pesavento, and I'm your host. And each week we share mindset tips and investing strategies to help you take your business and investing career to the next level. And today I really want to riff on a subject that I think is so important. I've really been noticing it as I've been having a lot of conversations out in the community, talking with up and coming emerging investors, talking with new passive investors, highly experienced investors, operators, all across the board. And it really gets down to this topic of competition.
This is the Investor Mindset Podcast.
And if you're just joining us, please hit that subscribe button down below and make sure you never miss another episode. If you've been listening for any amount of time, we love those reviews. They help us reach even more people. It's one of the number one reasons we're able to get such great guests on this show. So pay it forward to someone else by sharing this with them or dropping a review, and we'll get right into this episode. We're in a market where inflation is driving a lot of people to be interested in moving their cash into assets like real estate. We're seeing it in the stock market. We're seeing it in the bond market. We're seeing it across the board. And why that's happening is because we're dealing with a highly inflationary period. So for all of you homeowners out there, you'll feel really good knowing that on average across the US, 15% bump in the value of your home. If you happen to have sold your home, you happen to be out of it, you're feeling that pain trying to get back into the next one. The reason for that is there's such a huge drive for people to be living and moving to these new places and new cities across the country. The other big driver is there's a huge lack of inventory, but we're definitely seeing the impact of low interest rates with so much money being pumped into the economy that is driving up those rates on homes. And we're seeing the same thing within the multifamily market, within other commercial real estate markets. And so what that's leading to is this feeling of high competition. What happens when things get more competitive? People start paying more for properties, and the value of those properties go up in relation to the competition, the supply that is available. And so as an operator, as a sponsor, I've personally seen it. We've been competing for deals, and we've seen the value of those deals, the price of those deals trade at numbers higher than we would have been comfortable trading at only just a few years ago. So what that's doing is it's making it very difficult for new emerging operators to get into the space. That's why it's even more important that you're partnered with expert operators. And we have a few people that we partner with that we've been able to give assistance to and bring value to their team as a result of that by bringing our expertise to some of these brand new emerging operators who are looking in the game. But the big thing to remember as passive investors is that as things become more competitive, the return profile that you're going to be able to see on deals will be compressed. Now, what we're seeing in the market is that it's either A, harder to get deals, or people are being more aggressive, and therefore they're looking to be able to promise returns that may not be achievable. I've personally seen multiple deals that we have passed on because it just was not going to fit our return profile, that we've then seen other contemporaries and other people within our community put out at return rates that I just can't seem to justify. Now, that's why it's super important that you really build a good relationship with your sponsor and your sponsor team to be able to understand specifically how they are underwriting deals and where there is still room and other things that they've left out of the pro forma. It's absolutely critical to be able to ask those hard questions, be able to dive in and really be able to get to know the specific situations that people are working within. With that said, we're still seeing great deals out there. The most important thing is that you change your approach. We've obviously focused majority, about 80 to 70, 80% on large multifamily 200 unit plus buildings that are cash flowing with, a nice back end with that equity growth, kind of a hybrid approach. If you've listened to other episodes, you're familiar with the different types of return profiles that are available. But we're also seeing a lot of benefit and value in an equity growth model, focusing on smaller properties, 40 to 100 units, sometimes larger, that are able to return, oftentimes low 20s, high teens in the return profile. And in part, it's because of the amount of effort that we will be putting into that property. We're often buying those in a more competitive at a more competitive number because there's less of that institutional money. So I do encourage you, if you're an investor out there and you're looking for opportunities, it may make sense to invest in some smaller properties, and make sure that when you do that, you're investing with sponsors who have a track record of working on those types of properties and executing those business plans. If you're an emerging operator or someone who's hustling, getting deals, or you've been getting deals for a while, I hate to share the secret, but there's some great deals in those smaller, 40 to 100 unit buckets, specifically because those managers aren't as effective often as some of these larger managers. So unless you have a sophisticated team and, great partners and managers like we do, sometimes it can be difficult for those people to compete. So it's one of the things that we've seen, and we're going to continue to bring more opportunities forward for Von Finch and our partners that are kind of fitting that return profile. So with all of that said, at the end of the day, what it comes down to is, although things do get more competitive, change is inevitable. We can either fight it and we can say, hey, we're going to continue trying to buy like people bought back in 2009 or 2014 or 2018, or we can say, hey, well, what's the strategy that's going to work well today? How can I adapt to it? How can I accept it? And how can I move forward through it? That's the key critical takeaway when you feel like you're in a more competitive environment, you feel like everything's changing around you, right? At the end of the day, as investors, it's critical that we protect principal first and then we go for return second. So what does that mean? That means that we're really focused on how can we conservatively go and acquire these properties, put them under contract at reasonable places where we have high confidence that we're able to create a return, but also protect that downside. Now, as investors, I encourage you to really start understanding the philosophy of the sponsors you're working with and ask great questions like, how have you dealt with a loss in the past? How have you navigated these kind of challenges? Because personally, we have turned over 200 properties. We've purchased multiple multifamily properties, multiple single family properties. And in the process of doing that, you're going to see lots of wins. And we've seen some failures along the way where we've actually lost money on these deals. Now, the positive thing was we learned a ton, and it really showed me where my personal risk profile was. And I can definitely talk more about that in another episode. But the big thing for us was that we always returned principal and we always returned what we had projected to investors on those deals. Now, why do we do that? Because we know that it ends up leading to investors continuing to work with us for the long term. And when you look at it from a holistic perspective, when you do 200 plus deals, one or two that don't quite go as well, it ends up getting evened out. And so it's always important to do the right thing. But at the end of the day, you've got to be sure that the people you're working with have experience. It's why we're so focused on partnering and aligning our interests with managers that are on the ground in those markets that have experience locally. So we can bring our experience and our systems and our process and our ability to go find great deals and our ability to be able to pull these deals together and work with great investors on the investor relations side together with amazing management partners that we oversee, that we partner with and execute on our behalf and collectively to be able to go out and do these great deals. It's key to work with people who have a track record. So with all of that said, competition is just a way of looking at the situation you're dealing with. It's changing that lens out. It's redirecting what you're thinking about and understanding, hey, how can I move forward in this environment? How can I protect my downside while creating great risk or great returns and reducing that risk? And at the end of the day, that's what you have to do as an operator, but it's even more important as a passive investor. So as always, I encourage you guys, if you're interested in getting into and investing in the same types of deals we do, head over to vonfinch.com/invest. You can apply to join our investor club and have access to these deals before they're available to the general public. So as always, I appreciate you guys being here. Ask the question yourself, what did I learn today and how can I apply this in my life? And go out and do that. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you later. If you're ready to start leveraging the power of partnership in your portfolio, then I invite you to invest directly alongside us in the same type of institutional investments that I personally invest in. These are located in some of the strongest markets across the country, operated by managers with decades of experience, and we come together to leverage the power of partnership to be able to deliver phenomenal returns. You can learn more and apply to work directly with us at vonfinch.com/invest. be able to schedule a time directly with a member of our team and see if this is the right fit for you and your portfolio. That's vonfinch.com/invest. And I look forward to speaking with you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Investor Mindset Podcast. If you like what you heard, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Head over to theinvestormindset.com to join the Insider Club, where we share tools and strategies from the top investors and entrepreneurs on how to take it to the next level.